What's up, boys? In this video I'm going to run you through an exclusive raw clip for one of my presentations I put together for all my elite boys inside of my one-on-one mentorship, where I discuss the one thing you need to do on a bulk as a man if you're serious about your gains and you don't want to get fat, because most guys spend months bulking but they put on too much fat because they're missing and skipping this one simple step which I'm going to cover. So if you're serious about all your gains and you're serious about building lean quality muscle, watch till the end of the presentation so you can learn the one thing you need to fix in order to get lean quality fucking size.
Go.
Let's get this shit. Everyone can hear me properly, yeah?
Yep.
Hectic, let's get into it. So pretty much, I'll share my screen in a second. This presentation is just aimed at a supplement, right? So we've covered before insulin, we've covered how it's like a natural hormone. So this one's a glucose disposal agent. So what it does is two different types of it, right? There's one that works indirectly and there's one that works directly. And we'll be getting to that. Let me just share my screen. All right, everyone can hear me properly? Can everyone see?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, all right, hectic, making sure. All right, so glucose disposal agent, it's a supplement, like I said, and it helps optimize whenever you're eating something. You're eating a carb, you're eating a protein. We've spoken about it previously. Like your body releases insulin to kind of counteract the blood sugar, the spike of blood sugar in your blood, right? So a glucose disposal agent, it's a non-hormonal supplement, right? Like it means your body doesn't produce it naturally. That improves how your body uses carbohydrates. So it boosts, like I said, it boosts insulin sensitivity indirectly or directly. So there's one that we'll be covering later. It's called like a mimicking one, right? So it mimics your actual insulin. It like substitutes the insulin in a way. And there's one that directly boosts it, which actually amplifies your body's own insulin. It's really, really interesting. And they both improve carb partitioning. So whenever you eat a carb, it helps boost and shuttle those carbs to the glycogen. And it's very popular during high carb meals, anything over 60 grams or the back end of bulks. Like if you've been bulking for like 6-7 months and you're at the end of it, it's always good to incorporate one or two, supplements a day during your high meals to help with that, as well as refeeds if you ever might go and have a hectic refeed. So how it works, we've spoken about previously, yeah? Like I don't know if you can see my mouse on the screen there, but like you eat your carb, you eat a pasta. And what happens when you eat your carb, your body breaks it down into sugar. And once that sugar, which is glucose, goes into the bloodstream, it spikes your blood sugar levels, right? And what happens when your blood sugar spikes, right? Your body disposes insulin from the pancreas in order to counteract and drop those levels by shuttling, transporting that spike, that glucose to either the muscle, which turns into glycogen, or to stored fat. And whenever you have a GDA, glucose disposal agent, how it kind of works, it helps your body by either mimicking it or enhancing it, depending on the actual ingredient inside of the GDA, to help store it to muscle. Like if you're, let's say, very insulin resistant, I believe your body doesn't take to insulin very well, right? It depends if you either take one supplement that mimics it or you take another supplement that enhances it. So we're getting into the nuances of that in a little bit. Let me keep going with the presentation. So glucose disposal agents, so obviously they help with insulin, right? And why is insulin important? As you can see on the screen there, insulin sensitivity. Think about like a sponge. The sponge is your muscle, yeah? Whenever you're more insulin sensitive, so obviously your body fat percentage, your sleep, the amount of muscle you have obviously helps with that too, as well as the glucose disposal agent. So whenever you're more sensitive, your muscle, think about the sponge, right? You're more pronounced actually getting that glucose, which is that water, and making sure that sponge soaks up fat. So you get more of those nutrients to the muscle. But whenever you're insulin resistant, you're not training, you don't have much muscle, you don't sleep well, and you're at a high fat percentage, your muscles don't absorb that as well. So you could be eating all this good food, you could be getting all those macros in, right? But nothing's actually sticking. So here, you get a better pump. Carbs go into the muscle. You get more fullness and more veins and all that, yeah? Stable energy. You don't have as big as a crash because when you have a big spike of blood sugar, the GDA actually helps reduce that by helping your body combat that spike and not needing your body to expend all that insulin on its own. Faster recovery, muscles fuel up quicker as the partitioning of the nutrients go to the muscle a whole lot quicker, and there's less fat and better focus. When to use them? So let's say you're eating a really high carb meal, around 60 to 100 grams of carbs or even more. You're always better to eat that, and especially around your training. Like if I tell any of you boys to get them, which will probably be Jade and I think Zach, if you're eating like a big meal like that, if you're at the back end of like a bulk, let's say you're at 3,000, 4,000 calories, and you're eating most of your calories around your training. Like you have a meal might be like 800 calories, or at the back end, if you're like really heavy, you might go to like 80 kilos, 90 kilos. You'll be eating 1,000-calorie meals from here and there, right? At the end of a bulk, when you just really want to push the end and really get that muscle going before you start the car, it's always good to take those glucose disposal agents around your training. So you might take one before with your high carb meal, and then straight after the gym. So lean build, or we're managing your insulin resistance. Like you also might be a little bit older, and your insulin might not be very, very sensitive. Like you might get your bloods back, and you might not be at that level. And in order to help combat that, obviously having that lifestyle in check as well, getting sleep right, training effectively, getting the macros right, getting the body fat percentage low up as a way to be more proactive. What you do, you use a glucose disposal agent, which we'll be getting into the specifics of which one you want to use. You might want to use one that mimics the insulin itself, which means that your body doesn't have to produce as much insulin to help combat that the spike of blood sugar, or you use one that directly helps increases your own body insulin. Is everyone picking up so far? It is making all sense.
Yeah, it's interesting as.
Fucking nice. So obviously you don't need it for every meal. You might take one a day, two a day max, depending on which one, depending on which ingredients you have, which we'll be getting into that. Where are we? Common ingredients. So here we're getting a bit into it. So you got ones that mimic insulin indirectly. So it kind of substitutes insulin in a way. And you have berberine, you have beta melon. I don't know how you pronounce that, right? And then you have ones that enhance insulin function. So they enhance your own body's insulin, right? So they add to it as opposed to subtracting it in a way. And you've got these three extracts right now. So the most common one that I've researched, it's either berberine or LAA. LALA, but you need a mix of both. Like a good GDA will have a mix of both, and depending on where you kind of are with your hormones, with everything, it's always better using one or the other. So now we're getting into it. So I want you guys to see this analogy, right? So the ones that mimic it, like those berberine and the beta melon, right? Those ones kind of, like I said, it substitutes your insulin, body's production of insulin. So what it does, right, it reduces the burden on your pancreas, because that's what, pushes that insulin out when you eat, when you have that big spike of blood sugar. It reduces the load on having to produce so much as a way to combat that big spike here. Yeah, big spike. It decreases that because it subtracts it. So think about, you have a substitute teacher, right? A teacher called in sick, they can't come to the class. What happens? The substitute teacher comes in and he takes over, and it decreases the workload on the pancreas. It decreases the workload on the teacher because you just substitute it, right? But it might not be as effective as that original teacher on the right-hand side that's got the microphone. Now, real quick before we keep on going, if this is all starting to click now, drop a comment below about which part stood out for you the most, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you want this specifically implemented into your life, into your body, so you can truly level up and make sure you know how to effectively strategize your bulk to get the most out of it and keep fat at a minimum and effectively gain that lean quality muscle you want all along, then either message me on Instagram, or you'll be speaking with me directly, or drop in the description below and book in a calendar call with me where you'll be speaking with me, and we'll come up with the game plan on how we can incorporate all this, as well as your training, as well as your macros, in order to level the fuck up effectively. Now, this is also one of the many presentations I put together every week for all my boys inside of my one-on-one mentorship, and if you find it helped, DM me on Instagram and let's have a chat. Keep watching for more. So whenever you're taking an enhancer, like those bottom three right there, yeah, it increases your own body ability to optimize more insulin and push more insulin out. But that's depends on where you're at with your insulin sensitivity, which we will cover on the next slide. So enhancers optimize the natural insulin itself. So they amplify your body's ability to produce insulin. And now this is a bit of a nuance. So this is straight from the notes. So in mimickers, yeah, they do the insulin job for you without needing the pancreas to create more. So it's great if you're slightly insulin resistant. So whenever your body's not producing the insulin it should, as a way to combat that, you take the mimickers, right? You take the berberine, the other one, as a way to kind of help and substitute your pancreas ability to produce it. It also helps, reduce insulin spikes, which may reduce fat storage as well, yeah? And think about it. It's like the backup layer stepping in to take pressure. It's like that substitute teacher jumping in to help that normal teacher. It might not do the job as effectively. It's kind of like putting a bandage on as opposed to treating the root cause. But if you're going to cut yourself, you might as well fucking treat the cut as opposed to waiting until you're fucking bleeding. And then you have the enhancers here, like chromium, the other ones. So they, as I said, they amplify your body's own insulin. And it's great if you're really healthy, low fat percentage, and want to optimize glucose with your natural hormone production system. Yeah. And those are usually the best ones. They get the best pumps and the muscle growth because your body's already insulin sensitive. It's already producing all that. And you're already lean, young, you're fucking crushing it. And that's the ones you'd want to be looking at whenever you're looking at which GDA you might be getting from a certain store. So you might look at a website. And usually most of them have berberine, but you don't want just the berberine on its own because that's a big misconception that berberine on its own is a GDA. It is, but berberine does insulin's job for you. So we're better off if you're lean, you're young, you're healthy, you already got natural production. You're better off going for more of these supplements in the GDA. So if you look at one that's got 70% chromium, 30% berberine, perfect. Think of that way when you're going out looking at what one you might want to get. That's also budget friendly, has good reviews on that too. And then other supplements, yeah. So you got your magnesium, which has other functions too, helps with sleep, but also aids insulin sensitivity. And you've got your zinc, which actually supports the pancreatic function. Yeah, then you've got your vitamin D, regulation, sugar control, and omega-3s, which help with insulin sensitivity as well. And just to kind of wrap it all up, GDAs, improve. So think about it, right? It's similar to insulin. It does what insulin does, both by increasing your body's ability to amplify even more insulin naturally or subtracting your body's to do the insulin. It's like doing the job of the pancreas for you, yeah, as we just covered. So it shuttles the glucose into the muscle before you train, after you train, when it's more important. Like you always want to get your carbs, your proteins, your calories around your training. Like I've broken down before. It's like right before you train, right after, an hour after, then you can kind of start to spread out a little bit more. But most of those should go around your training because that's the most important. That's when your body needs a lot more of it. Use a combination of both with a clean diet. Make sure your macros are optimized, as well as your natural hormone system. Like you want to make sure your blood panel is good. You're already insulin sensitive. You want to make sure you're at a lower fat percentage. You want to get enough water. You want to get good sleep. You want to build more muscle because the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn. And it's kind of like it's way better that way. So it's not just a magic pill that you can take that's going to make everything good, but it's a supplement that your body does need if used correctly when you're on a bulk. On a cut, I wouldn't really bother. So that's everything done. Any questions?